My name is Dr. Jane Goldberg, and I am the owner of La Casa Spa and Wellness Center. I need this. I'm also an author. Should we close the door? I think that's a good idea, yeah, for the noise. But everyone can hear me with the microphone? I'm the author of 8 books. And I started La Casa Spa Wellness Center 23 years ago. La Casa and my daughter came at the same time, a month apart from each other. I'm also the founder of these 3 other companies, RRRPM, which is for pre- and post-mastectomy patients, Brainercise, which is brain exercises that will get your brain going until you're 120. I have a blog called Make It to 120 because that is the plan. The natural lifespan of human beings is 120, so I'm planning on making it that long. By the way, I'm 70, and so this is what, remember Gloria Steinem said this is what 50 looks like, and she said that about 30 years ago. This is what 70 can look like today, and I've had no plastic surgery. So the reason why I'm telling you this is because I live and breathe everything that I do at my wellness center, and I want you to do it too. And it's good to have therapies. We have to pay the rent, so it's nice when people come and do the therapies, but what I really believe in is what you do every day, so I really believe in lifestyle. And the latest company that I started, you know what? He said I could do this. No, I'm not doing it right. No, it's there's supposed to be a red light. Anyway, this one, Dogs Sense Sense. So we're training dogs to detect cancer by scent. They have 98% accuracy. The people that have already done it, there are about 5 companies around the world that do it. So I'm very excited about that project. And I write a lot. I blog. I write for all of the Huffington Post, Natural News, Health Nut News, Epoch Times, it's a newspaper, The Truth About Cancer, and Green Med Info, that's COG. Oh, maybe I'm doing it the wrong, there we go. Okay. These are my 8 books. This is my wellness center, which is on 20th Street between Park and Broadway in Manhattan. The first La Casa started as a small resort spa in the rainforest in Puerto Rico, and most of the people were coming down. We would do 5-day workshops, and they asked me to open up a center in New York, and La Casa Spa Wellness Center was created, again, 23 years ago. So it looks like a tropical forest because I wanted it to give me the same feeling I had being in Puerto Rico. And I've closed that center, but I'm in the process of, I have a 10-acre farm in the rainforest, and I'm in the process of renovating it to reopen La Casa again. So what I want to start with is to tell you that we need doctors to be electric doctors, and we need medicine to be electric medicine. And it is my belief that if you are a healing practitioner and you're not doing electric medicine, that you are practicing malpractice. So there are lots of systems that are around, and I happen to own these 3, and I actually just acquired a new one that's not even up yet. These scan the body through frequency. They tell you every pathogen that you have in your body. It tells you where it is, what organ it's in. It tells you down to the mitochondria and the DNA level. I'll tell you just one fast illustration. I had a woman who came in. She said, I found 3 ticks on me, went to the lab. They tested negative, but I wanted to check for Lyme anyway. And so I checked her for Lyme, and she had no Lyme. She was good, but I was looking in her lung, and I saw something a little suspicious. So I went down levels, down, 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 got all the way to her DNA, and there were 3 long Latin words, and I had no idea what they meant. And I have another computer next to the Metatron computer, and I asked her if she would just spell the Latin words for me so I could look it up in Google and see what it was. She got to the 5th letter, and she stopped and said, oh my God. And I said, what? She said, this is the disease that killed my mother. It's a very rare lung disease. She has it on a genetic level. Now, this patient happened to have cured herself of cancer holistically 30 years earlier. She's not ever going to get this rare disease that I don't even remember the name of, because she knows how to take care of herself. If you can cure yourself of cancer, basically you can live to 120. She's planning to do that. So these systems, not only do they tell you what you have, but they tell you your predilection. So they tell you what you're going to have 5 years from now or 6 months from now. So about 6 months ago, I tested myself on my Metatron, and it said that I had a problem with my left lung. And I said, oh, poo, you know, that's ridiculous. I do yoga every day. I run, I swim. I'm in perfect health, and I didn't believe it. And then about a month later, I tested myself on the matrix decoder. Okay, that didn't help. I don't know how to do this with the pointer. Maybe that's it. Oh, no. Okay, never mind. And the matrix decoder similarly said that I had a problem with my lung. And I didn't believe that either. And then I tested myself on my third frequency scan of the New Vision, and it said I had a problem with my lung. And I said, you know, I think I have a problem with my lung. And do you know, 3 weeks later, I was down for the count with bronchitis. This was 2 months ago. Just happened. So something happened to a lung, and there was a pathogen in it, and it gave me bronchitis. And all of these systems were telling me, honey, you better pay attention. Yes? Totally non-invasive. I put headphones on, and it scans from your brain. Your brain obviously controls everything that happens in your body. So what happens is that everything is frequency in the universe. And for about 100 years now, since Royal Rife, we have started to outline all of the frequencies of everything. And so we know the frequency of cancer in the kidney. We know the frequency of coffee. We know the frequency of every pathogen, E. coli, cytomegalovirus. And so the system sends that frequency, and if you have it, there's a resonance. If you don't have it, then it flows right through you. And so when there's a blockage, it tells you, I have this, and it tells you where you have it. So I don't remember what specifically I had in my lung, but obviously there was something that then got inflamed and caught. Whenever you have an itis, bronchitis, or diverticulitis, or any of the itises, it's inflammation. And inflammation is a great thing to have as long as it's an acute inflammatory response. Acute inflammatory responses can not go away and become chronic, and then you have a degenerative disease. And I'm going to get into that in a minute, but that's basically the problem with the medical model right now, is that we're treating degenerative disease as though they're acute diseases, and they're not. They're qualitatively different. So I love these frequency scanners because basically the best treatment of any disease is prevention. So I'm going to demonstrate, talk about this water a little bit. This is water that is pretty amazing. There's one man that makes it on the earth, and he doesn't really like his name to be known by very many people. So he only allows 2 or 3 people to actually distribute it. But I met him a year ago at the Best Answer for Cancer convention, and I've been using this with my stage 4 cancer patients. And they're my stage 4 cancer patients as a psychoanalyst. If it's a patient, it's because I'm a psychoanalyst. If it's through La Casa, it's not a patient because I'm not an MD. I'm a PhD and a psychoanalyst. So I had this man drank the Apex water. This was what he was diagnosed with, and then we tested him on the matrix decoder, and from drinking this water, he showed 51% improvement in his bladder and 49% improvement in his kidneys. So I say that the water cures stage 4 cancer, not because it only cures stage 4 cancer. I say it because if it can cure stage 4 cancer, it can cure pretty much anything. There's one physician in New York City that uses this water, and he's a Lyme specialist, and he uses it with his Lyme patients. I got sufficiently interested in this water to try to understand what it is, what it does, and why it does it. So I researched it, and I ended up writing a report about it. So if any of you are interested in this, I'm happy to email you my report. You can stop at my booth, which is right outside this door. It's called Apex Water. And if you Google Apex Water, you will come to a website, and there is one man that's selling it, but he sells it for so much money that the creator of the water actually doesn't really like to promote it. But he stayed with the name that this other guy gave it. So he's one of the distributors. I'm one of the distributors, and I think there's one in Colorado. Yes? What's in it? It just has to do with oxygen. I can't tell you. There's nothing in it. It's the process that creates it. And whatever that process is, it's like a Trojan horse. There's a smaller than nano-sized particle of silver that is added to it. And that tricks the cell membrane to open up and let it enter, like a Trojan horse. And once that happens, there are oxygen clusters, and those clusters explode inside the cell. The trick to cancer is, Otto Warburg won a Nobel Prize for understanding that cancer only lives in an oxygen-deficient environment. So the trick to curing cancer is getting oxygen in. But how do you get oxygen into the liver if you've got liver cancer? So the way this water works is that, again, it gets into the cell. It's very difficult to get things through the cell membrane that don't belong through the cell membrane. So the point of this is not, I can talk about the water more if y'all want later, but the point of this is to tell you that the matrix decoder and the Metatron scan the body, and they tell you what's happening. They tell you if there's improvement. They tell you if you're getting worse. It tells you what foods you can eat. It tells you what homeopathic remedies will work well for you. It tells you pretty much everything you need to know. So I love these systems, and I think that they need to be part of mainstream medicine, and of course, they're not. These are the causes of all diseases. We're going to go through them quickly. I mentioned this a minute ago. You can't treat inflammatory diseases as though they're chronic diseases. They're wildly different from one another. We got to say goodbye to drugs. They just don't work. Drugs that are supposed to treat something cause something else. Most of the cancer drugs cause cancer. No one's ever died from too many Tums or too much aspirin. Those are drugs. They're synthetic. They don't come from the earth. Your body can't process it. Your body experiences it as waste, and then your body has to figure out how to get rid of it. And a lot of the time, your body can't get rid of it. Your body doesn't know how to get rid of it. Most of the chronic illnesses, and that's what we're dealing with now, chronic degenerative diseases. Most of the people are going to be dying of heart disease or cancer. By the way, new study I may have it as a slide. Yeah, I do have it as a slide. A new study just came out. The third leading cause of death is, guess what? Medical error. We need to rethink everything about how we're living. Food, medicine, health, feelings. I'm going to talk about that as a psychoanalyst. I like to talk about feelings. The diagnostic procedures, I've been talking about that in terms of most of the diagnostic procedures are invasive. When you have by the way, I have a newsletter. It's called Musings from 20th Street. Again, if you stop at my booth and sign your name, I'll subscribe you to my newsletter. So one of the newsletters that I did about a year ago was about biopsies, both for breast and prostate. So there's a very high percentage of people when they have a prostate biopsy that end up in the hospital with an infection. The husband of one of my psychoanalytic patients recently was diagnosed with prostate cancer. I sent him my newsletter. He read it. He didn't pay attention to it and almost died from an infection in the hospital. Do you know why people die or why they get infections from prostate biopsies? Where do they go in to get the biopsy? They go in through the rectum. Not the cleanest place in the body. So, high rate of infection. So we need to rethink diagnostic procedures. Yes, thank you for the question. Are these non-invasive tests and assessment procedures? And yes, they are. And we need to rethink the entire paradigm of illness. Just told you that? Yes. So these are the only important questions. If these are the causes of illnesses, then all we have to do is address these, how to get more or less of what it is that we need. So how to have fewer toxins? I really believe in colon cleansing. I ask people, how are your bowels? They say, oh, I'm good. Do you experience constipation? Oh, no. It's like when I ask people, how do you eat? Oh, no, I eat well. What does that mean? It means nothing until you know what they eat. It means nothing until you know how many bowel movements they have a day. So people will tell me, yeah, I have a bowel movement every other day. Yeah, I'm good. No. You eat 3 meals a day, you need 3 bowel movements a day. Everything that goes in has to come out. So we do a lot of colonics at my center. I've invented about 10 of them, actually. So this is from a woman that was coming in, and she was on a detox program. And after 2 months, this is what she eliminated. This is candida, it's fungus, it's really bad stuff that does not belong in the intestinal tract. And then this is actually a different client. So she was diagnosed with mold-induced cervical cancer, and she was coming in and doing rectal insufflations with ozone. I'm going to talk about ozone in a minute. But it stimulated peristaltic movement. She went to the bathroom, and this is what came out. This worm, a foot long, came out dead. But until she had ozone, as you'll learn in a minute, ozone kills every pathogen known to mankind. This little guy was living inside her intestinal tract until the ozone killed it. And then when it came out dead. Sweating is a great way to detoxify. I do yoga every day. I do hot yoga. I sweat like a pig. It's a really good thing to do. The chemical composition of sweat is entirely different than any other fluids that come out of your body. A lot of detoxification in sweating. We have a salt sauna, and I've recently installed 4 high-intensity far-infrared lamps. So I like moving if I'm going to sweat, but if you want to just lie there and sweat, it's good to go into a sauna. How to get more nutrients? We need plant life. Different people have different opinions about whether you should be eating meat. I'm not really going to weigh in on that right now, but I am weighing in on we really need to go green. Our diet needs to be a lot of greens, a lot of plants. So now, feelings. How to get out of sympathetic on stuckness. Feelings are our friends. See, these are all different feelings. You know, he's okay, and she's happy, and he's sad, and they're all good feelings because they're all part of us. So sympathetic on stuckness. Sympathetic on is you've got your sympathetic nervous system, your parasympathetic nervous system. When you're stuck in sympathetic on, you're in fight or flight. And when you're in fight or flight on a continuous basis, you're really revved up, and then you're exhausted. And so I met somebody a few minutes ago, and she said she had adrenal fatigue. Why do you have adrenal fatigue? Why do you have fatigue for anything? It's my mud. Thank you. You have fatigue because it's been it's like, you know, if you keep a car revved up all the time, eventually the engine will just wear out, and your body will wear out. So you just can't stay in fight or flight all the time. You also need parasympathetic. You need to relax and chill. So so when they say feelings cause disease, they're really talking about the balance, the imbalance between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous systems. Feelings don't cause disease. We are a body-brain. Thoughts are the language of the brain, feelings are the language of the body, and they have all of these relationships with each other. I don't need to read it because you can read it. And if you have any doubt about that, this is a recent study that was done, and they actually they were able to find where, through far infrared technology, they were able to find out where the body lights up, where the energy goes in these different feeling states. So I find it interesting that neutral is basically nothing is happening. Sadness is largely up there. Happiness is largely up there in the upper part of the body. Look at contempt is in the pelvic region, and envy is... so I just find this really fascinating, that feelings are in the body. They're not just in the mind and in the psyche. So does anyone know who won the Nobel Prize in 1949? Before I tell you that, I'm just going to tell you that as a psychoanalyst, my job is to help my patients to have all of their thoughts and feelings. I don't think that happiness is a better feeling than sadness. I don't think that love is a better feeling than hate. I think as humans we have them all, and we need to acknowledge our humanness and know that all of our feelings define all of who we are. So when you start saying, like, I specialize in working with cancer patients, and so I hear all the time somebody will come in and say, no, I know, they tell me I really have to feel optimistic about this. I really have to get in the headset. I'm going to beat this. I don't think so. I don't think you should get yourself in any headset. I think you should be in the headset that you are in, and you should know that. And when you know what you're thinking and feeling, you don't get in that sympathetic stuckness. You're not repeating the same feelings over and over again. You're having a wild how do you say that word? Panoply? Pat, what's the word? My English person. Panoply? Wide range of... Thank you. So the more feelings you have, the more healthier you'll be, and the fewer feelings you have, the less healthy you'll be. That's the basic premise. So when they got interested in basically killing off feelings, in 1949, they gave a Nobel Prize for the great invention of how to really kill off feelings once and for all. Goes through the eye. Who knows what it is? Lobotomy. Nobel Prize for lobotomy. You believe it? That's how wrong medicine can be. Stress. I'm just going to talk for a minute about stress. So if a cancer patient is coming to me as a psychoanalyst, they probably have some predilection for believing that there's a psychological component to their having contracted this disease. So if you ask 100 cancer patients that believe that there might be a psychosomatic component to their disease, what caused it, they'll all answer stress. I don't know what people mean by stress. It's like constipation. It can be anything. But I think, and this was Hans Selye basically invented the meaning of stress. He put these mice on Canadian rooftops, and he was starving them, and he was exposing them to sub-zero degrees, and he was exercising them like crazy. He wanted to stress them out, and then he did he killed them and dissected them to find out what organ was getting destroyed and what was causing their death, and what is the physiological definition of stress. So usually, so Hans Selye was looking at body stress, but when people say, oh yeah, stress got me sick, they're talking about the state of their psyches. I don't think stress gets people sick. I think that my definition of stress is the inability to be conscious, the inability to know what you're thinking and feeling, and so things get stuck inside you. Feelings get stuck, thoughts get stuck, and there isn't a free flow of your psyche that leads you to be able to have all of your thoughts and feelings, just like there can be a stuckness of energy. I'm going to talk about the biomodulator in a few minutes, and so I scanned somebody today, and I got a really low voltage here and a higher voltage here, and then I saw there was a tattoo here. You see, the difference was the tattoo was causing an energy blockage. Tattoos do that. Scars do that. And so whenever you have an energy blockage, if you think about acupuncture and the meridian lines, an energy blockage is a problem. The body, the flow needs to happen all through the body. Thoughts and feelings need to flow all through the body and the psyche. Stress is where mind and body meet. Feelings have a lifespan of 90 seconds. So you can have a feeling of wanting revenge for a decade. You can have it for 5 minutes. But it has a neurological lifespan of 90 seconds. In 90 seconds, that feeling is no longer present in the neural circuitry of your body. So you can get rid of your feeling in 90 seconds if you choose to. So, again, I'm a psychoanalyst. We call it the talking cure. It was invented by Freud, and I think that the way of getting out of the sympathetic unstuckness is the talking cure. So the analyst helps the patient to be able to verbalize all thoughts and feelings. That's basically the premise of the whole treatment. It's a time-consuming treatment, and it costs a lot of money, and the only benefit that I promise my patients is that they will be able to be aware of everything that they're thinking and feeling. It's a very small modification of how it is they're functioning for a big price. But it's like, you know, if you're sending a spaceship out and you are off like one angle here, 1 degree here, by the time you get into outer space, then, you know, you're off by thousands of miles. So even though it's a very narrow accomplishment that you are creating in being able to put all your thoughts and feelings into words, it permeates, it expands, and it changes your life. Okay, enough about talking. How to get rid of infections? Okay, so I have a picture of a tooth because there's so many infections that are caused by the mouth and originate in the mouth, and we're not really aware of it. One doctor did he's an oncologist, he specializes in cancer. He looked at 96% of his breast cancer patients had a root canal. I had a new patient that came into my office a few weeks ago. She's 30 years old. She has breast cancer. She had gone to Sloan. She was prepared to have a bilateral mastectomy, one side preventative, like Angelina Jolie stupidly did. And then she was going to have chemo, radiation, and 10 years of tamoxifen. And I asked her if she had any root canals, and she had. So it turns out that the root canal tooth was lying on the meridian line of both her breast and her stomach. And she also told me that she'd been having stomach issues for 15 years. She is not going to get well until she has that tooth out. She gets that now. She accompanied me actually to the Best Answer for Cancer conference a month ago, and she got convinced. And so she's totally holistic, and she's either had the tooth out or she's going to have the tooth out. So dental infection. So one more thing about the teeth is that when you have a root canal, they take out the root canal through a canal. So they take out the nerve, but they leave the tooth in. And the problem with leaving the tooth in is that it's dead. Dentists are the only healing practitioners that believe it is okay to leave necrotic dead tissue in your body. If you have diabetes and you have a dead toe, they don't leave that toe on. If you have diabetes and then your toe's gangrene and they leave it on, then your whole leg gets gangrene, and then your body gets gangrene and you die. So every other practitioner knows you can't have dead tissue in the body. Dentists leave a dead tooth. There's no system on earth, no healing technique that's strong enough to kill the amount of pathogens that grow from that dead tissue being in your mouth. There's so many breast cancers that are being caused by dental infections and root canal infections. Ozone. Ozone kills every pathogen known to mankind. We do ozone at my center. I told you about the rectal insufflation. We do vaginal insufflations. We have a steam cabinet, and so you sit in, and the ozone goes in through every cell in because your skin is obviously a steam cabinet, so that you're not breathing in the ozone. Although we do have people breathe in ozone for like sinus infections, respiratory situations, because you can breathe it in through olive oil, and then it's really effective. So this is good to get more. O2 is oxygen, O3 is ozone. It's just a molecule added to oxygen. This is good. This is good. This is EWOT. It stands for exercise while with oxygen therapy. So getting your heartbeat up and breathing. All this is good. This is the Apex water that I talked about. Okay, how to get more voltage. This is what I really want to talk about. This is right now what I'm in love with. So voltage. So this conference that I went to a month ago in California, I met a doctor there. So this is a professional conference. It's only professionals that are invited to attend to it, and a few professionals are invited to speak, so it's by invitation only, and I was honored to be asked to speak, and I met this doctor, Jerry Tennant, who was also asked to speak. And he's changed my life. The last month has changed my life because I now understand that voltage is the foundation of all health. Everything that your body does derives from voltage. So Jerry Tennant's story is that he was an eye doctor, ophthalmologist. That's stupid. My brother-in-law is an ophthalmologist. I don't know why that left my mind. Maybe because my brother-in-law and I are not on good terms since my sister died. By the way, I'm 70 years old, as I said, but my mother and my sister were both dead of cancer long before they reached 70 years old. So I am genetically predisposed to have cancer. I should be dead, but I'm not because I have a healthy lifestyle. Lifestyle trumps genes. So, so Jerry Tennant was an ophthalmologist. He was doing some corneal surgery, and the particular patient had viruses, 3 viruses in the cornea, also was an AIDS patient. 3 of those viruses he inhaled as he was doing the surgery, and they settled in his brain and in his spleen and his gut. And he got so sick he was in bed for 7 years. He slept 16 hours a day. He had viral encephalitis. He went to doctor after doctor after doctor. What do I do? Nobody knew what to do. They said, we're really sorry. We have no idea how to cure this. So he realized that if he was going to get cured of this, he had to figure it out himself. And so he had 2 good hours every day, and those 2 hours he studied, he read, he looked at microscopes, he did everything that he could in 2 hours, and he figured it out. And what he figured out is that voltage is everything. If you don't have enough voltage in your body, you can't absorb nutrients, you can't detoxify, you don't retain oxygen. Nothing happens that will create a state of health if you don't have high enough voltage. And when he figured out how to raise his voltage, he got well, and he's 76 years old now, and he's doing great. And he's lecturing and treating patients in Dallas, and I'm going down in July to study with him. PMF is pulse magnetic. We do that as a treatment. At La Casa, we have fantastic success with Lyme patients doing it, with cancer patients. I had, I just got a new dog. I don't know, some of you may have seen my dogs were here a couple of hours ago. So Petey is he's a rescue dog. And so I hired this dog trainer. She came in and I liked her. She said she was 30 years old and she was really pretty and sweet. And at the end of the session, she said, do you know I have Parkinson's? And I said, oh my God, wow, you're 30 years old. Oh, how awful. And I said, well, how would I have known that? And she said, well, I don't know, you're a PhD. I thought maybe you noticed. I said, no, I didn't notice. But I have something that will help you. So I put her on the PMF machine, and she called me the next day, and she said, when can I come back for the second appointment? I said, why? She said, I was happy. The whole rest of the day, I was happy. So pulse magnetic, depression is a side effect of Parkinson's, and so it helped with that. Pulse magnetic has FDA approval for brain tumor, for Alzheimer's. It is so effective. The history of this is that the first cosmonaut, anybody remember his name? First guy in space. Did we win the space war, the United States? We did not. The Russians did. His name was Yuri Gagarin. Gagarin. So he was up in the air for like 40 minutes. He came back down. His entire metabolism was destroyed. He had health issues for the rest of his life, which was not very long because he committed suicide. I think he was 47 when he committed suicide. He had very profound depression. When you are removed from the Earth's magnetic field, you are not healthy. You will not live. So after that first space flight, every space flight since then has a pulse magnetic machine that puts pulse magnetic in the environment so that the astronauts, cosmonauts do not have this same end. So PMF is just a fantastic, I have Parkinson's people that come in like this, and after one session, I can get them like that. It doesn't last, and I now know why it doesn't last. It doesn't last because their voltage is too low. It won't hold it. So I got to get the voltage up first. PMF puts voltage on in the body, but what really puts voltage in is this, which Jerry Tennant invented in order to cure himself. It's called the biomodulator. And I've been assessing people's voltage all day. And I found some really interesting things. You know, one person, it had very low it was very asymmetrical, low voltage on this side, high voltage on this side. I said, are you having a problem with this part of your body? She said, yeah, that arm really hurts, the shoulder and the arm. And so I've had, I don't know, probably 20 people that had interesting stories to tell you about what I found out from just assessing, taking 2 minutes and assessing their voltage in different parts of their body today. This is the biomodulator. Okay, there's good news because I've been giving you the bad news about all the drugs not working and the biopsies killing you and all that. There's a new drug in town, and this is what the new drug does. All of this stuff. You got it? You can read it? And the new drug is called Healthy Living. So to detox, we do colonics, we sweat, we do oil pulling, which is coconut oil. You got to do it for 20 minutes. It starts working at the 17th minute, so if you do it for 10 minutes, it doesn't work. Dry skin brushing, I love that. Bernard Jensen is the nutritionist who cured my mother's terminal cancer, and he tells this story. I wrote it in one of my musings, so again, I encourage you to subscribe to my musings. It's about Samson, the Saxon giant, and he was like a heavyweight lifter, and he had won the world championship for a few years, and then this one year, he didn't win. And they asked him what happened. He said, I forgot to do my dry skin brushing. It takes off the layer, the dead skins of your dead cells through your skin. And so it's a detox. It's a really powerful detox. And so Bernard Jensen got interested in that story. And so he took some brown paper and dry skin brushed himself for a few days. And then he took it to the lab to have what had come off his skin analyzed. And it was toxins and waste. It was all kinds of stuff that you don't want on your body. You want it off your body. So dry skin brushing, you know, you can go buy one for about $7 from your health food store. It's a great thing to do. Bernard Jensen, when he was 80 years old, I saw him speak at a conference, and he pulled up his pants legs. At 80 years old, his skin was perfect. He had baby skin. And it's because he was dry skin brushing. Fasting is a fabulous way of detoxing. It just puts your body in rest mode, repair mode. I don't start eating until about 3 o'clock every day, so I'm fasting from my last meal until 3 o'clock. Great thing to do periodically or daily. Yes. What?
Do you use zeolite?
I love zeolite. Yeah. Okay, nutrition. My idea about nutrition is the food should look like it came out of the ground. If it doesn't look like it came out of the ground, then it's been processed. And let me just tell you about almonds, because I know almond milk is really big these days. I also covered this in a musings. If you're buying raw organic almonds, you're not buying raw organic almonds, because about 10 or 15 years ago, they passed a legislation that said that all almonds that are grown in the United States have to be treated, so that you can treat them with pasteurization, which is relatively cheap, or you can treat it with PPO, which is even cheaper. PPO is a chemical. It is a known carcinogen. You can call the almonds raw and organic, and they can be treated with PPO, a known carcinogen. So the next time you go to your health food store, if you're buying almonds, you're possibly ingesting a carcinogenic substance. There is, and I discovered this after about 6 months of researching, because I really look deep when I research a topic. There's one exception. The exception is if it's grown on a farm that has a roadside stand. Go figure. I just Googled California almond grower roadside stand, and I found one, and that's where all my almonds come from. So the almond milk that you're buying that everybody's, hot into these days, it's probably carcinogenic. Okay, we talked a lot about the sympathetic, parasympathetic, having all your feelings, being able to put it into words, infections, got to take out the root canals. I'm sorry, the tooth has to come out. It's a dead tooth. Silver amalgams, obviously, mercury, toxicity, all of the oxygen. Okay, so for the voltage, so everybody's been, so as I've been assessing people, and, I'm saying you've got low voltage here. One of the people that I did an assessment on, she was fine up here, and then I did down here, and it was really clear this was inflamed. By the way, so normal voltage is minus 20 is good. If you're in minus 50, you've got an inflammatory response. If that doesn't go away in a short period of time, you're in trouble, because inflammatory responses are supposed to be acute and short. Once you flip polarities, and once you go into the plus sign, plus 20, you don't feel well at plus 20. Plus 30, you got cancer. So it's important to assess your polarity, because it's like my frequency systems. It's measuring energy, it's measuring frequency. It tells you what's about to happen. And it's important to know, because you can stop it from happening. So how do you raise your voltage? Well, the biomodulator, he created it to raise voltage, so that's a really good thing to have treatments with, or even own. But hugging a tree. So something is either an electron donor or an electron stealer, and voltage is basically defined by electrons. So a tree lives in the earth, and the earth is one great big battery. And we are smaller, portable batteries that walk along this great big battery. Except that what's happened with modern civilization is that I walk on concrete, and I walk with shoes, and I'm not like Yuri Gagarin. I'm not in touch with the Earth's magnetic field, and I'm not in touch with all of the energies that the Earth emits that we don't even know about yet, that we haven't discovered yet. So we're all voltage deficient. So one of the things that you can do is be in nature, because if it's in nature, it's in touch with the Earth's energy. So hug a tree, walk barefoot on grass, go to the beach, walk barefoot on the sand, eat green, play with your dog. Why do you play with your dog? Your dog is always walking barefoot on earth, on grass. And so the dog is an electron donor. And when you're hugging your dog, so electrons flow from donor to stealer. It's like water. It seeks its lowest level. So your dog is donating electrons to you when you hug it. That's how much your dog loves you. No, because cats, they're not, unless they're outdoor cats. Earth. You have to be in touch with Earth. And PMF, pulse magnetic, and the tenant biomodulator. And so I have 3 minutes, and I'm just going to go through this really quickly. These are the body's repair mechanisms: regeneration, isolation, inflammation. Regeneration is when he can grow a new tail, cut off one of the wings, and the starfish grows back. These are the regenerative powers. This all depends on voltage. So this is low, this is high. Had a friend that hurt her cornea. I gave her a treatment with the biomodulator, and the next day everything was repaired. She had no problem. I'm going to skip that. So if regeneration doesn't work as a defense mechanism and as a repair mechanism, the body then resorts to isolation. Isolation is what an oyster does in creating a pearl. An irritant comes, it's usually a virus or a parasite, comes in.